my name is Todd Weber, and today I wanted to make a short video for you on why ketones are not a magical molecule and why overall the ketogenic diet is actually bullshit. That's the title of a blog post that my intern Kate Prevette and I are writing for the Nutrition Advocate. I also operate Energy Balanced Nutrition Consulting and the Science of Dieting. You can find me in any of those locations. So we're going to use a little bit of biochemistry today to explain why ketones are not some sort of magical, mystical molecule. To do that, we need to start off with a sketch, a simple sketch. And I'll tell you that I'm going to sketch out the energy systems or the energy pathways. And I'm going to leave a whole lot of different molecules out because in the interest of actually understanding it and not confusing ourselves, we need to simplify things. So this is my best effort at explaining this to you. Okay, so here we go. We start off with a cell, and each cell, with the exception of red blood cells, contain mitochondria. Mitochondria, as you've probably heard, are the powerhouses of the cell. That's where the vast majority of our ATP is made at rest. Now we'll start off with glucose and how we metabolize that. I say, well, glucose is interchangeable with carbohydrates because ultimately in your body, when you eat carbohydrates, you'll turn them into glucose. So let's go through glucose first. Glucose is metabolized, I have it in 4 steps, but it's actually 9, to pyruvate. This process is known as glycolysis. Pyruvate then goes through another step and becomes acetyl-CoA. Now, acetyl-CoA is the central metabolic intermediate. Many different breakdown pathways converge on acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA can then be run in reverse, and you can build things like fatty acids with acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA will enter the mitochondria, combine with oxaloacetate, become citrate. Here we're skipping a few steps again. Citrate goes to malate. We're skipping 6 steps. Malate becomes oxaloacetate, and the cycle continues. Oxaloacetate combines with acetyl-CoA, and this is known as the Krebs cycle. So what you'll have is you'll have glucose running through glycolysis to become pyruvate, becomes an acetyl-CoA, combines with an oxaloacetate, and this cycle will spin again and again and again. Now, I don't want to get too lost in the weeds here, but acetyl-CoA is a 2-carbon molecule, oxaloacetate is a 4-carbon molecule. And how this works is you have a 6-carbon molecule, you're losing CO2, you're losing carbons, and you're making a 4-carbon molecule again. So this is going to go again and again and again. Alright, another piece of this puzzle is that during glycolysis in the Krebs cycle, what you're doing is you're mobilizing electrons. Glucose contains carbon, and there's electrons in those carbon-to-carbon bonds. That's where our energy is. That's why we can run and jump and play and think and do everything that we need to do. So we produce ATP in glycolysis and produce ATP in the Krebs cycle, but it's a very, very small amount. So with these mobilized electrons, we then send the mobilized electrons to a series of 5 complexes. I have 5 arrows here, known as the electron transport chain. And we'll transport from complex to complex electrons. We're using the energy of the electrons ultimately to produce ATP. Okay, what about fatty acids? That's next. Fatty acids are going to go through a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-step process in which they become ready and activated, and this is known as beta oxidation. Now, beta oxidation will produce an acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA, the body doesn't know whether that came from glucose or whether it came from a fatty acid. It's acetyl-CoA. And so, hence, it'll operate in the same fashion. Combines with oxaloacetate, becomes citrate, to malate, so on and so forth. Krebs cycle. And then we have, again, the passing of electrons to produce ATP. Now, this is how the body operates on a day-to-day basis. as I'm sitting here recording this video. I'm probably burning a lot of fatty acids. I haven't had breakfast yet. But you switch between fatty acids and glucose. This is your normal condition. Now, if you restrict carbohydrate, or if you're starving, or I guess if you're on a very low energy diet of less or 800 calories or less, then this will happen. This is ketosis that we're getting into here. If you noticed, I took away this arrow. That's the part of the screen you're going to want to watch. And I then put a reverse arrow in, because oxaloacetate, when you don't have carbohydrate, is going to actually reverse course. You're still running the Krebs cycle, but some of that oxaloacetate reverses course, becomes malate. Malate then leaves the cell and goes through this process in the liver known as gluconeogenesis. It's a complicated word. If you break it down, you got gluco, which is glucose, neo is new, genesis, the creation of, kind of like, what is it, the first book in the Bible? And so the creation of new glucose. And the reason the body does this is because the brain prefers glucose and red blood cells must use glucose. Red blood cells lack mitochondria. And so red blood cells cannot, they have none of this machinery to produce ATP. They can only use glycolysis. And so you're never going to run out of blood glucose. If you run out of blood glucose, you're dead. And so the body needs to make glucose if you're not consuming carbohydrates. Now what happens, as I said, the Krebs cycle is not going to run as effectively, let's say. It's disrupted. So what are we going to do with all these acetyl-CoAs? We have to do something with them. And so there's an alternative pathway. Acetyl-CoA becomes acetyl-CoA, which is a mouthful, which can then become ketones. Ketones then have a couple options. They can leave the cell, enter the bloodstream, and travel to another cell. So if this is a liver cell and the liver cell is producing ketones, liver cells don't actually use ketones, but the brain can use ketones, muscle can use ketones, so on and so forth. But if we're saying, okay, well, it travels to that cell, what happens? Well, we take those ketones and we actually run these reactions in reverse, essentially. So the ketones will enter the mitochondria, and the ketones will end up becoming an acetyl-CoA, and we'll end up running that Krebs cycle again, mobilizing electrons and ultimately producing ATP through the electron transport chain. If you look at this diagram, this is why I'm saying that ketones are not special, because you could just as easily say one of the 9 different molecules in glycolysis. You could say pyruvate, acetyl-CoA, fatty acids, the different steps in fatty acid activation that I have not mentioned, such as carnitine. Well, that's important as well. Krebs cycle intermediates, those are important as well. What I failed to mention earlier is that protein. Where does protein, what is its role? Well, protein, each amino acid can enter the Krebs cycle as a specific metabolic intermediate. And some of the amino acids can also go through gluconeogenesis. So this is, I mean, it's super complicated, but it's all mapped out. And the idea that ketones are special among all of these molecules is kind of ridiculous to me, because they're all special. If you don't have a certain molecule, the pathway is not going to work. And the body has some, let's just say, workarounds to run pathways in reverse or to go around certain pathways. But again, the idea that ketones, that one molecule is so important, that's really missing the point, in my opinion. Okay, so going back to this diagram, this is physiology. This is what is happening in your cells on a day-to-day basis. Producing ketones is not normal. You produce ketones, again, if you fasted for, say, 36 hours, if you're eating less than 800 calories, or if you're starving. And so I know that people will say, well, this molecule is usually not made, and we're harnessing the power of it, and blah, 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 blah. I'm not buying any of it. So kind of to conclude, ketones are just another molecule. There's hundreds of important metabolic intermediates. Each step in each pathway is tightly regulated by the body, and each molecule can regulate the next molecule, right? If you're making too many molecules of something downstream, it's going to inhibit further upstream and say, we have enough of this, don't make any more, right? And so, super complex, but yet can be simple, as I've hoped to simplify it for you. Ketones indicate fat burning, so I get why people are like, oh yeah, if I have a lot of ketones, if I can measure ketones in my breath, that means I'm burning a lot of fat. Yeah, that's great, but weight loss or improvements in body composition are due to energy balance. They're not due to fat burning per se. And you could say, well, you're really splitting hairs there. I don't understand that. Well, I've made a series of videos in the past, and I'll probably end up making a couple more in the future as part of the science of dieting, to be honest with you. But you can go to my Energy Balance YouTube channel and check out these videos. So just to conclude, again, I mean, ketones are not a magical molecule, and the ketogenic diet in the long term, like, forget all the biochemistry. Who cares about that? Does it work? No, it doesn't work in the long term, with few exceptions. All right, well, if you've watched this video, I've to the end, I hope that you enjoyed it. And, you know, leave your hate mail comments, keto lovers. I'll talk to you later.